and Michael and Vincenzo from Canadian Solar. I'm really keen to hear about the backstory of Canadian Solar, how it was founded, and how you got to where you are today.
Okay. Vince, why don't you do the foundation story?
Yes, that I think, the foundation, Canadian Solar is now 20 years, was founded in 2001. And it happened that back in the days, Volkswagen, the large car manufacturer, had an issue, was running an issue. All the battery of the car, the new car, were running flat.
And that was in Canada, wasn't it, when they were storing cars?
Yes, in North America in general.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but also it was a generic problem in Europe. Where, Volkswagen is the largest car manufacturer in the world, and they issued a tender for a solar panel manufacturer, asking to solve their problem, to keep up the battery, the car battery, while they were storing the cars, parking the car, essentially. And most of the manufacturer come up with their standard solution. Back in the days, probably Glenn wouldn't remind. It would have cost like $1,000 for a panel, $1,000 for a panel for a 100-watt panel. So at the time, our chairman Sean Q, he was a PhD student in Canada, and they participated to the tender, and they designed a special small solar panel with 4 vents that was attached inside on the windscreen, and then was back fitting through the cigarette lighter the battery, and they essentially won the tender. And then in a couple of days they had to come up with a name for a company, and that's Canadian Solar story. That's it.
Okay, so the batteries going flat, was that an issue just after manufacturing and then they would sit there for a while, or was that just after you'd sell the cars and people would own them and they'd sit them there for too long?
Yeah, while the car were sitting in the parking waiting to be delivered, sold worldwide or in North America.
So then they'd remove these from the cars.
Then they were removed, and then there was this cooperation within Canadian Solar and Volkswagen, and so Volkswagen helped Canadian Solar really back in the days, and they achieved all the certifications in Germany, and off they go. They went. Yes,
that's a cool story.
Yeah, that's a really cool story, and I think is inspirational for everyone. I mean, wants to start a business like SolarKeep, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, and Michael, how about now? Like, can you tell me a bit about the Australian team?
20 years on, I mean, we've been in Australia for 7 years, since around 2014. I think we're more than 50 people, across the company here locally. So that's a point that's often missed by people. Just the number of local staff we have. Not just supporting across the module business, but we also have our energy group out here as well that are involved in greenfield site development and that sort of thing.
Okay.
Along with the MSS side, which is Module Systems and Solutions that Vincenzo and I belong to, that look after supplying modules out to the residential market, C&I, and also the utility space. Mm-hmm. So, it's certainly come a long way from the early days of Sean whacking a few solar cells on the inside of a windscreen in Volkswagen cars, but that was a very fortuitous moment. So it helped with him getting certification of his module and then being able to leapfrog into the German market very early when Grid Connect took off over there. So
I can imagine. And so was that obviously so it started in Canada?
Yeah.
Okay. And then picked up some steam in Germany from there? Or?
Yep.
Okay.
So the German market being the first, decent market that was established in terms of Grid Connect. So they had the manufacturing plant in Canada, and they were able to supply out of there. And obviously, as the market boomed, they looked at other manufacturing opportunities around the globe as well. So now we have, I can't remember the total number of manufacturing facilities we have now.
No, we have many, but we have manufacturing sites in Brazil, in Canada, in Thailand, in Vietnam, of course, in China. We got our cells. Our manufacturing sites, Philippines. Yeah, we have probably more than 20 manufacturing sites. So,
Well, it's a lot of manufacturing sites. Is that normal for panel companies to have that many sites?
Probably, we also need to. And there are also a strategic and political reason why sometimes you also need to have manufacturing sites.
Sure.
Like Brazil, as a developing country, they have a high feeding custom duty, on everything is important. So sometimes you need to build your manufacturing facility locally to compete in the market. It depends. Yeah.
Okay.
So depends. Strategic. Yeah.
And sorry, did you say the US? There was a site there as well? Or?
And no, in US we don't have a site, and we have US. We're feeding US from the talent factory for other political reasons, probably. But,
Okay.
The tariffs. I mean, tariffs are well understood there at the moment. So
yeah, fair enough. And I mean, sorry, just to step back to what you said earlier, Michael. 50 people in Australia. That's a lot. I mean, I'm very impressed with that. Like, what's the breakup between sort of the panel sales and distribution side compared to the project side?
Oh, you've got me there, Sean. But I would think it's probably in the range of a 50-50 split across both. Yeah. Because I mean, we assist them in terms of our administrative and logistics team, obviously help out because we're supplying our modules into those energy group projects, of course. So they're utilised that way. And then we also, we have our own internal legal teams and things like that. So they work across both sides of the business. So there's economies when you've got, those differing segments that you're addressing. But it's just great. I mean, it makes us a pretty strong self-contained unit in terms of being able to respond to customer requirements in the market and that sort of thing. We can most of the time resolve things locally. I mean, of course, we still rely on headquarters quite a lot as well, particularly on the R&D side and things like that if we get any curly questions. But most of the time we can resolve a lot of it locally. So it's great.
Okay. And is that all? Are they all based in a centralised location in Australia? Or
we're pretty disparate. And like everyone over the last 12 months, we've been more disparate. But our main office is in Melbourne, in Richmond, or Cremorne, as they like to call it these days.
Yep.
But we have a small office in New South Wales, in Sydney, and also in Brisbane and in Toowoomba in Brisbane as well. So
I guess,
we're a bit spread out.
I guess us ourselves, we don't have quite as many as you in Australia. I think it's around about 30 to 35 staff at the moment. But
wow.